Hi everyone, I'm Chris, the Dancing Clown, and I want to talk to you about Spider-Man. Everyone loves Spider-Man, and the new movie of his made $1 billion opening weekend. Cinema is saved, everyone is happy. However, something is horribly wrong in the world of Spider-Man, namely the spell that Doctor Strange performed in No Way Home.
Here we go.
Strange made it so that nobody in the entire universe remembers who Peter Parker is, right? How the fuck does that work? There were people who had a lot of memories of Peter and they forgot. So do they just have blanks in those places? There are people who knew Peter for years, like Ned, who is a childhood friend of Peter, meaning that he spent the majority of his life knowing and interacting with Peter. Hell, even Happy and Nick Fury knew Peter for a long time. What happened to their memories? Do they just have giant gaps in their memories, or does something appear in their minds to fill in the blanks? If it's just blanks, that means that Ned doesn't remember like half of his life. And if something appears in people's heads, what is it? Ned's personality was probably largely shaped by Peter, as is often the case with childhood friends. Replacing his memories would make him a completely different person. Either way, shit is fucked up. And then there's school records and such. Does that just disappear? What about S.H.I.E.L.D.? They had Spider-Man working for them in Far From Home. They set up a giant international mission scheduled around where he is and what he does. They probably had everything recorded with transcripts of conversations, CCTV footage, logs of every activity and everything. Millions of dollars were spent on this mission, probably taken from the taxpayers. After Peter has been de facto erased from history, what happened to all that footage and all those logs? Was that all erased or did it change? And if it changed, how? What is in the files and the videos whenever Peter is mentioned or visible on video? How did the accounting change? Did the money that paid for the Far From Home mission return to the government or whoever paid for it? What does everyone involved in that mission remember? This makes no fucking sense. And then there's Brand New Day. So Spider-Man is working for the Avengers, right? We never see him work in this movie, and his giant flat in New York City must be really expensive, not to mention his fancy computers and 3D printers and other shit. So what is his name on the bank account? He doesn't exist as far as the universe is concerned. He was never born, he never went to school anywhere, he doesn't have insurance, he doesn't have social security, he doesn't have anything. A bank will not allow you to make a bank account if you don't have any documents. Avengers don't seem to know who he is, so how is he getting paid? He doesn't carry around a bag of cash, so he has to have a bank account. Do the Avengers have a deal with the bank where they can have Spider-Man as the name? But how would he get the money? If someone just showed up in the bank wearing a costume, that could be fraud, even if he has superpowers, because there are a lot of superpowered criminals out there. So how does he get the money? How does he get the money, Lebowski? Does he only take out the money via debit card? But then he would probably be tracked down by the Avengers through purchases and footage from the CCTV cameras at the ATMs, because they would want to know who the fuck he is. And then they would find out that he's Peter Parker, and Peter Parker doesn't exist anymore in any record. They would probably think he's some spy from another dimension or a Skrull or whoever the fuck. Explain, movie, explain! And remember the drones from Far From Home? Does Peter still own them? Did they disappear? Do they even recognize him after the entire universe was changed? And if he still owns them, first of all, why didn't he use them in Brand New Day? Second, the Avengers are fine with some anonymous guy owning that kind of firepower on top of having superpowers? I think they would look into this. They would do something. And if he doesn't own them anymore, does that mean that there's a satellite floating around the orbit filled with military-grade drones? Well, somebody would steal that shit. Either the Avengers would take it, some other government organization, or some supervillain. Somebody would take that shit. And then we get Ned and MJ remembering things from before the spell. So does that mean that Nick Fury remembers too, and he just needs an interaction or two with Peter? How would he react to that? He's basically a paranoid black James Bond. He would go AWOL. None of this shit is ever addressed, probably because I, some random asshole on the internet, have put more thought into this than a team of well-paid Hollywood writers. And don't tell me that none of this matters. Of course it fucking matters. This is an ongoing shared universe and the spell affected all of it. But this is written by a bunch of lobotomized baboons and they don't think about anything for longer than 5 seconds. There is no smart writing in this pile of crap. So in conclusion, the MCU has shitty writing. What are you gonna do? Complain about it on the internet? I'm already doing that. Thanks for watching.